Let's start simple and effective. Beadhead pheasant tail soft hackle. Works great, easy to tie. Let's go. Okay, so we're getting started now on our beadhead pheasant tail. So to tie it, we need a beadhead and we need a nymph hook, some thread, pheasant tail fibers, of course, some brown hackle, and some peacock girl. We will also need a piece of copper wire. Now, this is a wonderful pattern to use, this nice soft hackle edition. I once asked Steve Colton what's the one fly he would be without on the Farmington, and he said it would be a beadhead pheasant tail with a brown hackle. There are several ways to finish this fly with different hackles, and he said nope, just a plain old wet fly hen hackle. So I started fishing it more and more as like a point fly on a cast of wets and so on, keeping it really simple. And it produces. It's a wonderful fly. I mean, we catch a fish on pheasant tails probably since, well, I have been since I was little, 40 plus years ago, and Frank Sawyer's been doing it in England for, well, derivatives of him, century and a half. Measure the tail out to the length of the body. Okay. Remember, be very careful about centripetal force because that'll bring the fibers over. You don't want that. Nice light wrap and then a little pressure going down, light wrap down. Now at this point it doesn't really matter because you've already done it. Now I like to build up a little bit of a thorax, so what you'll see me do is pull this back. I'll go one more turn here. And then forward. And then back. Again, and then down onto this track just a little bit. And what that's going to do is give a little taper to the body. Okay, I'm sure you can see just by looking at it there that I've just introduced a little bit of a taper. Now, next step in the process is to put in my copper rib. I pre-cut a piece right here. Trap it on the underside of the body. That's a tendency of mine from when I tie hairwing salmon flies. Go right back to the point where the tails are tied in. Now, let me just rephrase one thing here. I have two options when I put those tails in. One option is to put them in and then just take one or two turns of thread, then put the copper wire in and twist them all together. That's a good option. It works great, and sometimes I tie it like that. But when I'm in these bigger sizes and I'm going to want a little bit of a taper to the body, then I like to do what I just did. Okay. Pick out a few more pheasant tail fibers right here. The tips are very likely to break, so I trim those off. And then, again, you'll notice the bottom of the shank. Okay, and look at that nice taper we have right in here. I gather the pheasant tail, couple with the copper wire, slip over my hackle pliers. You'll notice these hackle pliers, boy, Bunky Williams showed me these years ago. I rarely am able to find them, but when I can find these, I jump all over them. These are the best hackle pliers I've ever used. Okay, when you go to wrap pheasant tail, don't twist much in the beginning because you'll break the fibers. I'm going to take one turn and a half, and that's it. Now I'll take another turn, and then another turn, and this serves a second purpose. What it does is it bulks up the pheasant tail as it goes along because it gets tighter and tighter, so it gets wider and wider. You can see that little bit of a taper coming into play there. Okay, usually about the time that you get to the first piece of black on the pheasant tail is usually right about the time that you're getting to the thorax area. So at that point, I usually look to tie down. Oh, phone's ringing. Hope it's not for me. Okay. Reversing it. Okay. Tying it off. So now you can see that I have the tail, I have the tapered body. Next up, thorax. 5 of them in all. I trim them. This time I'll actually lay them onto the hook shank. Very lightly with the thread so I can pull through and capture it all. Okay. I like red under pheasant tail. I like red as a lot underneath fibers to strengthen it, give it a little bit of a contrast with that, the green coming off with the peacock herl fibers. So I trap it, again pull it through. That's all light pressure on the thread, and now I start trapping it down. Loop it. A little Latin loopy-loo. Again, pull it through. Okay. Light twist. Don't want them to break. A little bit more twist. And a little bit more. There's my nice thorax. Now remember, it looks pretty big now, and it is pretty big. But what you'll notice when you get it wet is that it squishes down some. And there's only one more thing to do. There we go. Look at the black fleck in this one too. Okay, great. I often tie these in by the tip, but I'm not going to this time. I'm going to tie it in by the butt because it's a little thicker and a little webbier, and I like that for these purposes. Okay. There's my turns. Now I'm going to just tick, 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 tick. This is called folding hackle right here. And then just take, eighth graders not going where they're supposed to go. 1, 2 turns of hackle. That's it. This is a super simple pattern, and I catch a lot of fish on it. In fact, the other day I needed to go out and make a video real quick for one of my presentations, and I said I got to catch some fish on a wet fly. So I put 3 wet flies on, an olive, a hebe, and one of these guys, with the sole purpose of using this to get the fly a little bit down in the water column. And I had 3 fish on 4 casts.